The time is now 7:21 a.m. I know I'm late. I know I'm late. I just got off work, you guys. It's a whole new ball game now that I'm called back to work. But I just got off work. It is 7:22 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's Texas time, y'all. Today is Opportunity Tuesday, and it is June 16th, 2020. And in celebration of Opportunity Tuesday, I'm gonna read my Bible because that's what we do every day in the year 2020. I checked in with YouTube. I'm still banned from reading the Bible on Boulevard 40, but no need to fear. If you're not able to join me on the live, you can always catch the replays after I upload them to YouTube, Boulevard 40. So yeah, I check that every morning just to make sure, they haven't settled that issue. And I still can't go live. I want to cry so bad because that was the whole point of me starting that channel, was to read the Bible on that channel, and now I can't do it live. So in either case, here I am. And I'm still trying to get used to this whole Facebook thing. So let me get over to Facebook. Let me get out of OBS and let me get out into Facebook. But first, before I forget, let me invite my grandmother, because my grandmother, my dear sweet grandmother, she started a Facebook account just so she can join me here, because she's like, what happened? Why aren't you doing it on YouTube anymore? I was like, Grandma, I don't know what happened. They banned me. They banned me from reading the Bible. I know that's not it. I don't know if it was a troll that set me up or if it was a glitch, or I don't know. But in either case, my dear sweet grandmother, she got a Facebook account just so she could watch me. And sometimes she has trouble getting on here. And so let me log in before I do anything else, because I forgot the last couple of days and I felt kind of bad. And let's see. Make sure my grandmama can come and join me. I might want to mute that, right? So share. Yes, I want to share. Give me the link. I will take that link and I will send a quick message to my grandmother saying, we're live. We're all the way live. I'm a little bit late today, but the Bible reading party is started! Exclamation point. Here's the link if you're available to join. We're going to get this party started. We're going to get this party started. We're going to get this party started. It's a Bible reading party. We're going to get this party started. Okay. She said I think one time she was able to make it in through the link, but otherwise, I don't know, it wasn't working for her. So anyhow, my grandmother has now been invited. And now let me see. Let's see. I'm so unfamiliar. I apologize, you guys. I'm so unfamiliar with Facebook. YouTube is my thing. That's what I like to do, and I'm much more familiar with it. I think I need to go. Pastor Marcel, give me a heart. Hey! Why, thank you, sir. For you guys who don't know who that is my long distance pastor, so to speak. Let's see. You guys check out my feed on my wall, and you'll see that from time to time I will share a watch party there. And you do not have to be fluent in Japanese because it's a bilingual sermon, and so yeah. Okay, now I'm getting lost again. We are in week 25 for anybody who doesn't know. Okay, there we go. Now I'm back where I need to be. I think I can see comments on the left. I can see my streaming health in the middle. And if anybody comes in, I can see that too. So we're in week 25 of reading the Bible. We've been all over the place, you guys. We've been on my main channel, 40 Entrepreneur Drive. We've been on the new channel, Boulevard 40. We're here. It doesn't matter where we are. As long as we're reading the Bible together, we will be all right. So yes, week 25. of reading the Bible. This is my Bible, in case anybody's curious. What's she reading? I've never heard that Bible before. Because, my dear, it's the New Believer's Bible compact version. First steps for new Christians. So if you've never read the Bible before, if you've never stepped foot inside a church, if you're intimidated by the idea of reading like an old-fashioned King James Version, this is the Bible for you. It is the New Living Translation. And it's kind of like a study Bible. There's some commentary pieces in here, and the commentary pieces are written by this guy right here, Greg Laurie. New Believer Study Tracts and Notes written by pastor, author, and evangelist Greg Laurie. So that is the particular translation that I'm using. I also use my handy dandy Compact Bible Dictionary, Nelson's Compact Series, from time to time. And give me a quick second. I will give you a screen share so you can see my study guide. This is what I'm using to pace myself to read the Bible in a year. That sounds like a really long time, right? You can do it because I'm doing it. I'm from January 1st to now. That's 25 weeks. So let me show you the Kindle book that I'm using my handy dandy screen share. Let's see. Oops, did I do that right? Man, my screen share just does not want to work lately. I got to do it the old-fashioned way, which sends you guys through that little weird tunnel for a second. But then here we go. We're all here together. So this is the cover of the book. Mine is a digital download. You can get a digital download or you can get the physical book. The physical book is available at Amazon, and it is called A Woman's Guide to Reading the Bible in a Year. A life-changing journey into the heart of God. And the author is Diane Storts. That's what the cover looks like, so you can check it out. Go look it up if you're interested. And if you're on the Kindle, you go like at the top of the browser here, and you can go to the table of contents like I'm doing now. And then you would scroll. Well, actually, you wouldn't scroll. You would hit the little arrow until you get to the week that you're on. So look at that, all these weeks, and each week has a theme. Like, so for example, week 1 is beginnings, right? Week 1, beginnings, very appropriate. Week 2, faithfulness and deceit. Week 3, news of a new kingdom, all the way down to week 25, which is where we're at now. Laptop's a little slow today, so it's taking a minute. Oh, did I get there? I got there and I didn't notice. Okay, so I passed by the page. I feel like the Jeopardy song should be playing sometimes when I'm waiting for this thing to load. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, here we go. So look at this list. Look at this list here. You will see week 19, darkness and light. Week 20, give us a king. Week 21, chosen by God. Week 22, a man after God's own heart. Week 23, walk wisely. Week 24, division and unity, which we just finished that up. We're talking about the division between the nation of Israel, the south, Judah in the south, and Israel in the north, and all the different power plays and power struggles and coup d'etats and takeovers that was going on. It was really dividing up the nation of Israel. Then we went to Galatians. We read all through Galatians, and it was talking about unity through the body of Christ, through our faith in the Savior. And then this week, we're talking about disobedience, decline, and disaster. That is the overall theme. And if I click on that, it will show me this gold box over here, and that's what I'm reading. 2 Kings 1 through 25. That's what we're reading this week. And the checkpoints to be listening out for are a chariot of fire, which we covered yesterday. A chariot of fire. That is what came down and swooped up good old Elijah. The prophet Elijah got swooped up by a chariot of fire. He did not die like almost everybody else in the Bible. He was taken up into the heavens. Let's see, 7 dips in the Jordan. That's something that I'm going to cover at some point. A floating axe head. A feast for wild dogs. Oh, I already know what that one is because I've been kind of reading ahead. A lost and found book. That is what we're going to be covering. And this is the book that I'm using to read the Bible. And as you can see here on this part that says read, it's about 2 to 3. Well, it depends. It's about 3 chapters a day, sometimes 4. occasionally it will be the whole book, like when I did Ruth. So yeah, so that's that. Coming on back through the little Twilight Zone tunnel. I know that thing is so weird, right? I have it set up where I'm supposed to push a button and it just automatically changes, but it hasn't been doing it lately. Let me tell you guys, lately I've been going through some trials and tribulations of technical issues, trials and tribulations, getting banned from YouTube. I think I found a troll, or actually, I found somebody that copied my channel. It's a long story. I'll tell you about it on the main channel. I've just been having issues. Laptop freezing up. Somebody does not want me to read the Bible. That's what it feels like. I don't know. But there's no need to fear. Kenya is here to read the Bible. Yesterday we did 2 Kings, chapters 1 through 3, and I'm going to do a little recap because that's what I like to do. I like to do a recap to catch us up, and I only do this if we're in the same book. Like if if I just finished a book like Galatians and I jumped into Kings, that chapter's done. But we just started this yesterday. In chapter 1 yesterday, Elijah confronted King Ahaziah. King Elijah confronts King Ahaziah, and what was going on there. See if I can remember. I got to test myself now. So King Ahaziah, I don't know what he was doing upstairs, but at some point he fell through the lattice. And I think lattice is like, when I think of lattice, I think of the garden, the little the little wooden pieces. So I'm thinking he was either like maybe on a balcony or a terrace or I don't know, something like that. But it's said that he fell through it and he hurt himself pretty bad, like terminally, whatever you call it, bad. So he wanted to send his servants out to ask, let's see, he wanted to ask somebody, am I going to live? Am I going to die? He wanted to ask Elijah. Elijah, knowing that he is a pagan, knowing that he does not worship the one true God, he was like, well, what are you coming to ask me for? Why don't you go ask one of those pagan gods? Or maybe it's the other way around. Let me see. Let me not speak wrong. Okay, so in chapter 2, he sent messengers to the temple of Baal-zebub. That's right. I remember now. He sent his messengers to the temple at Baal-zebub, and on the way, Elijah stopped them and told them, since he, is going to ask these gods, he's never going to leave that bed. He's going to die there. And that's exactly what happened. But before that happened, King Ahaziah was not pleased. Let's see, he sent out some people. He sent out like a group of 50 soldiers or 50 men. Elijah's up in the tree hanging out, literally and figuratively. But he's hanging out, basically trying to protect themselves. He speaks. If a man, because the people that came after him said, hey, man of God, come on down here. The king wants to talk to you. Well, this man of God says that, the Lord's going to send down some fire and burn you up. And zas, fire fell from heaven and killed them all. The king sent a second group of 50 men, and they said, man of God, come on down here. The king wants to talk to you. I don't know about you, but if I had seen that first group, I don't think I would have been in the second group. Man of God, you better come down here. The king wants to talk to you. This man of God asked the Lord to send down fire to consume you. Bam! They got burned up. The king sent out a third group of soldiers to come and get this guy. Now, at least the captain of this group was smart enough, and he humbled himself. He bowed down, he humbled himself. He said, Elijah, I know that you are a man of God. So I'm humbly asking you to come down with us. We already know what your God can do. Please don't ask him to do that to us. Elijah came down with them after that time. Let's see, in chapter 2, Elijah is taken up into heaven. Now his homeboy Elisha, which was his assistant really, Elisha wanted to be with him to the very end because Elijah kept saying, oh, I gotta go over here. No, I want to come with you. Okay. Oh, I gotta go over here. And he's kind of like trying to, like, okay, I'm trying to make my final exit stage right. And Elisha was with him to the very end, up until the point where Elisha had so much faith and so much loyalty to Elijah. He said, before you go, can I just ask one thing? Can I have a double portion of your spirit? This spirit of prophesying that you have, can I have it? And he ended up getting it. Elijah got swooped up by them chariots of fire. And then the spirit of prophecy came down upon Elisha, and he was doing some miracles right after the fact. He split that little river open that they had just crossed over, and he also did something that wasn't very nice to a group of boys who kept calling him Baldy. Hey, Baldy! Hey, Baldy! Go away, Baldy! And yeah, two bears came out of the woods and mauled all 42 of those little boys. So don't make fun of bald people. In chapter 3, there was a war between Israel and Moab. And I believe that catches us up. So that's everything that happened yesterday. I know, pretty exciting, right? Like, wait, what, huh? What? What? You cannot miss a day of this Bible reading party because you never know what will happen. Before I jump into chapter 4, let me get off of this page of my Kindle and check in with my live just to see if anybody has popped in. I think it's easier for me to check on my phone. I'm so unfamiliar with this. I'm a YouTube kid. I just don't know how to. There we go. So at one point I got a thumbs up and I got a heart. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Somebody's watching me because I see that eyeball. I don't see any other comments, but I'm going to keep this open. I'm going to keep my phone open so I can see if anybody comes in. I can acknowledge you, give you a shout out. But yeah, let's jump on into the Bible. 2 Kings. We are in 2 Kings, and today is chapters 4, 5, and 6. And this is what's going on in chapter 4. Elisha helps a poor widow. One day, the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves." That was very normal practice back then, by the way. Selling yourself into slavery or maybe being taken into slavery to pay off your debts. That was actually very common. "What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all, except a flask of olive oil," she replied. And Elisha said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go to your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So she did what she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and as she filled one after another, soon every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," he told her, and then the olive oil stopped flowing. Now that's a miracle. You've only got a certain amount of oil in this container, and this prophet comes and tells you, pour that into another vessel until it fills up. Well, I've only got so much in here. Come on, guy. But she had that faith, and he had probably much more faith than her, and performed that miracle that she was able to continually fill different flasks with olive oil. And olive oil was worth money, just so you know. It just was no Crisco. They were not cooking food. This was legitimate currency at that time. So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars, and as soon as they said, "We don't have any more," that's when the oil stopped. You know what? I know I'm trying not to go off too soon, but I think that's interesting that the blessings that was coming to her kept coming and kept coming until she didn't have enough room to hold them. Until she didn't have enough room. Until it was overflowing. They just kept coming. I think that's awesome. Kiana Nicole says, "Good morning." Laverne Dorsey says, "Morning. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday." And welcome to the Bible reading party. Let's see. I just started reading chapter 4, and that's where we're at. We're at chapter 4 of 2 Kings. Elisha, Elisha was Elijah's assistant. And after Elijah died yesterday, the spirit of Elisha, or the essence or the powers that Elijah was blessed with, came upon Elisha, and he's throwing down. He's really doing some wonderful things. So he just came upon this widow, for those of you who are just coming in chapter 4 of 2 Kings, chapter 4. And I've only gotten down from 1 to about 7, verses 1 through 7. There's this widow. I guess she's in debt. I don't know if her husband left her with debt, or it's because she's a widow, she can't work and she can't get any money. And now her creditors want to take her sons into slavery, which was very common then. You got to pay this back. We're going to take these sons and they're going to work for us. And so Elisha goes to her, tells her what to do. She's only got a little bit of oil left. He says, bring these empty containers of oil, and from this one vessel, keep pouring into the other empty ones. Wow, now that I think about it again, that's like an analogy for, what we can do for people. Or like, have you ever went to like a candlelight vigil and there's just that one light, but that one light can light all the other lights. Or if you're blessed in some kind of way, people who around you who are not blessed or who may be empty in some kind of way, spiritually or whatever, you can help fill them up. Isn't that a great thing? In verse 8, it says, Elisha and the woman from Shunem. One day Elisha went to the town of Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to come to her home for a meal. After that, whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for something to eat. She said to her husband, I am sure this man who stops in from time to time is a holy man of God. Let's build a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. Then he will have a place to stay whenever he comes by. One day, Elisha returned to Shunem, and he went to this upper room to rest. He said to his servant Gehazi, tell the woman from Shunem I want to speak to her. When she appeared, Elisha said to Gehazi, tell her, we appreciate the kind concern you have shown us. What can we do for you? Can we put in a good word for you to the king or to the commander of the army? No, she replied, my family takes good care of me. Later, Elisha asked Gehazi, what can we do for her? Gehazi replied, she doesn't have a son, and her husband is an old man. Call her back again, Elisha told him. When the woman returned, Elisha said to her, as she stood in the doorway, next year, at this time, you will be holding a son in your arms. What? And she says, no, my Lord, she cried. Oh, man of God, don't deceive me and get my hopes up like that. But sure enough, the woman soon became pregnant, and at that time, the following year, she had a son, just as Elisha had said. A little quick dip into the commentary. I read about Elisha and Elijah yesterday because I was curious, one, about why are their names similar? Is that a coincidence? Does that mean something? What did that mean that Elijah was taken up into heaven? What does that mean? They give me a double portion of your spirit. And I did a little, self-searching, like, well, what about the soul? What happens to the soul and the spirit when you die versus just being taken up into heaven? So I did a little thought experiment yesterday. And so that's what made me read the heading on Elijah and Elisha to find out about them. And it was talking about the differences between Elijah and Elisha. Elijah being more of an outdoorsy kind of hairy guy that was, we won't say that he was antisocial, but he preferred to be, I'm just here for God. I'm living for God. I don't care if y'all like me or not. I'm just doing what I got to do. And then Elisha was more of a people person. He was very socially adept, much more than Elijah. He was bald instead of hairy, and he had a little bit of pull. I mean, even here it says in chapter 11, in chapter 4, verse 11, he's asking her, to give in thanks for this room that she built or had built for him. Hey, what would you like me to do? Put in a word for the king for you? Now that's some pull right there. So that was some interesting insight into Elijah and Elisha from yesterday. Let's see. He predicted and prophesied that she would have a son, and she did. In verse 18, it says, one day when her child was older, he went out to help his father, who was working with the harvesters. Suddenly he cried out, my head hurts, my head hurts. His father said to one of the servants, carry him home to his mother. I wonder what that was. So the servant took him home, and his mother held him on her lap. But around noontime he died. She carried him up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door and left him there. She sent a message to her husband, send one of your servants and a donkey so that I can hurry to the man of God and come right back. Why go today? He asked. It is neither a new moon festival nor a Sabbath. But she says, it will be all right. So she saddled the donkey and said to the servant, hurry, don't slow down unless I tell you to. As she approached the man of God at Mount Carmel, Elisha saw her in the distance. He said to Gehazi, I'm guessing that's the name of his servant. He said to Gehazi, look, the woman from Shunem is coming. Run out to meet her and ask her, is everything all right with you, your husband, and your child? Yes, the woman told Gehazi, everything is fine. But when she came to the man of God at the mountain, she fell to the ground before him and caught hold of his feet. Gehazi began to push her away, but the man of God said, leave her alone, she is deeply troubled, but the Lord has not told me what it is. Then she said, did I ask you for a son, my Lord? I didn't. And didn't I say, don't deceive me and get my hopes up? Then Elisha said to Gehazi, get ready to travel. Take my staff and go. Don't talk to anyone along the way. Go quickly and lay the staff on the child's face. But the boy's mother said, as surely as the Lord lives and you yourself live, I won't go home unless you go with me. So Elisha returned with her. Gehazi hurried on ahead and laid the staff on the child's face, but nothing happened. There was no sign of life. He returned to meet Elisha and told him, the child is still dead. When Elisha arrived, the child was indeed dead, lying there on the prophet's bed. He went in alone and shut the door behind him and prayed to the Lord. Then he lay down on the child's body, placing his mouth on the child's mouth, his eyes on the child's eyes, and his hands on the child's hands. And as he stretched out on him, the child's body began to grow warm again. Elisha got up, walked back and forth across the room once, and then stretched himself out again on the child. This time the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Then Elisha summoned Gehazi. Call the child's mother, he said. And when she came in, Elisha said, here, take your son. She fell at his feet and bowed before him, overwhelmed with gratitude. Then she took her son in her arms and carried him downstairs. And in verse 38, we got some miracles during the famine. Elisha now returned to Gilgal, and there was a famine in the land. One day, as the group of prophets was seated before him, he said to his servant, put a large pot on the fire and make some stew for the rest of the group. One of the young men went out into the field to gather herbs and came back with a pocket full of wild gourds. He shredded them and put them into the pot without realizing they were poisonous. Some of the stew was served to the men, but after they had eaten a bite or two, they cried out, man of God, there's poison in this stew. So they would not eat it. Elisha said, bring me some flour. Then he threw it into the pot and said, now it's all right. Go ahead and eat. And then it did not harm them. One day, a man from Baal, Shalisha, brought the man of God a sack of fresh grain and 20 loaves of barley bread made from the first grain of his harvest. Elisha said, give it to the people so they can eat. What? His servant exclaimed. Feed 100 people with only this? But Elisha replied, give it to the people so they can eat, for this is what the Lord says. Everyone will eat, and there will even be some left over. And when they gave it to the people, there was plenty for all and some left over, just as the Lord had promised. Early CPR? I don't think it was. I thought it was going to be, but I don't think it was. I think it was a miracle. But yeah, pretty much. Early CPR. Eyes on his eyes, mouth on his mouth, hands on his hands. That was some divine CPR. Chapter 5 talks about the healing of Naaman. The healing of Naaman. The king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria, he would heal him of his leprosy. So Naaman told the king what the young girl from Israel had said. Go and visit the prophet, the king of Aram told him. I will send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel. So Naaman started out carrying as gifts 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, "With this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, "This man sends me a leper to heal? Am I God that I can give life and take it away? I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent this message to him: "Why are you so upset? Send Naaman to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message: "Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored and you will be healed of your leprosy." But Naaman became angry and stalked away. "I thought he would certainly come out to meet me," he said. "I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord his God and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar better than any of the rivers in Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed?" So Naaman turned and went away in rage. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, "Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he says simply, 'Go and wash and be cured.'" So Naaman went down to the Jordan River and dipped himself 7 times, as the man of God had instructed him. And his skin became as healthy as the skin of a young child, and he was healed. Then Naaman and his entire party went back to find the man of God. They stood before him, and Naaman said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept the gift from your servant." But Elisha replied, "As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept any gifts." And though Naaman urged him to take the gift, Elisha refused. Then Naaman said, "All right, but please allow me to load 2 of my mules with earth from this place, and I will take it back home with me. From now on, I will never again offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to any other god except the Lord. However, may the Lord pardon me in this one thing. When my master, the king, goes into the temple of the god Rimmon to worship there and lean on my arms, may the Lord pardon me when I bow too." "Go in peace," Elisha said. So Naaman started home again. Now that's pretty interesting right there. He has been healed. He's experienced this miracle. He's giving thanks, kind of indirectly to God, but wanting to give thanks to Elisha. He still acknowledges his role as, a commander under the king, even though he does not believe. He's asking, "Hey, I still got to go serve this guy. He's got this pagan god over here. Elisha, can you ask the Lord to pardon me ahead of time because I still got to go do this?" I mean, he could have been like, "No, I'm going to go tell the king that this is the one true God," but I guess that's the way he wanted to do it. But I think that's interesting too. Now in verse 20, he's talking about the greed of Gehazi. Isn't Gehazi Elisha's servant or assistant? Verse 20, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, yeah, I just said that. The man of God said to himself, my master should not have let this Aramean get away without accepting any of his gifts. As surely as the Lord lives, I will chase after him and get something from him. So Gehazi set off after Naaman. When Naaman saw Gehazi running after him, he climbed down from his chariot and went to meet him. "Is everything all right?" Naaman asked. "Yes," Gehazi said, "but my master has sent me to tell you that 2 young prophets from the hill country of Ephraim have just arrived. He would like 75 pounds of silver and 2 sets of clothing to give them." "By all means, take twice as much silver," Naaman insisted. He gave him 2 sets of clothing, tied up the money in 2 bags, and sent 2 of his servants to carry the gifts for Gehazi. But when they arrived at the citadel, Gehazi took the gifts from the servants and sent them in back. Then he went and hid the gifts inside the house. When he went to his master, Elisha asked him, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" "I haven't been anywhere," he replied. But Elisha asked him, "Don't you realize that I was there in spirit when Naaman stepped down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to receive money and clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and cattle, and male and female servants? Because you have done this, you and your descendants will suffer from Naaman's leprosy forever. When Gehazi left the room, he was covered with leprosy. His skin was white as snow. See? Greed, greed. Why are we all so greedy? Is it the fear that there won't be anything after the fact? Or is it that we just want what we want? I don't know, but greed. Here his master, his servant, his master or his the prophet that he was serving and assisting, if he said he didn't want it, why do you think you need it? But people are people, humans are humans, and that's human nature. We are now at chapter 6, which is the final chapter for today. And if you have any questions, comments, insights, or understandings to this, make sure you leave it in the live chat or in the comments after the fact for all my YouTube people who will be watching this later, and to all my Facebook people who are here now. Man of his word. Yes, a man of his word. Chapter 6 is talking about the floating axe head. Ding, 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 ding. Checkpoint, checkpoint, checkpoint. One day, actually, that's 2 checkpoints. I think we just did 2 checkpoints. Hold on. 2 checkpoints. 7 dips in the Jordan. That's what Naaman did. And a floating axe head is coming up right now. Yeah, I already did that. Cool. One day, the group of prophets came to Elisha and told him, "As you can see, this place where we meet with you is too small. Let's go down to the Jordan River where there are plenty of logs. There we can build a new place for us to meet." "All right," he told them, "go ahead." "Please, come with us," someone suggested. "I will," he said. So he went with them. When they arrived at the Jordan, they began cutting down trees. But as one of them was cutting a tree, his axe head fell into the river. "Oh, sir," he cried, "it was a borrowed axe." "Where did it fall?" the man of God asked. When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it into the water at that spot. Then the axe head floated to the surface. "Grab it," Elisha said, and the man reached out and grabbed it. Now that's a miracle. I don't know what analogy you can put with that or what deeper meaning you can put with that, but an axe head, what is that, steel or iron? I don't know, but it's heavy. Once it goes kerplunk, it goes kerplunk. But it floated to the surface. What do you guys think about that? Verse 8 of chapter 6 talks about Elisha traps the Arameans. When the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, "We will mobilize our forces at such and such place." But immediately Elisha, the man of God, would warn the king of Israel, "Do not go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there." So the king of Israel would send word to the place indicated by the man of God. Time and time again, Elisha warned the king so that he would be on the alert there. The king of Aram became very upset over this. He called his officers together and demanded, "Which of you is the traitor? Who has been informing the king of Israel of my plans?" "It's not us, my lord the king," one of the officers replied. "Elisha, the prophet in Israel, tells the king of Israel even the words you speak in the privacy of your bedroom." "Go and find out where he is," the king commanded, "so I can send troops to seize him." And the report came back. "Elisha is at Dothan." So one night the king of Aram sent a great army with many chariots and horses to surround the city. When the servant of the man of God got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops, horses, and chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" the young man cried to Elisha. "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than on theirs." Then Elisha prayed, "Oh, Lord, open his eyes and let him see." The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw the hillside around Elisha filled with horses and chariots of fire. As the Aramean army advanced toward him, Elisha prayed, "Oh, Lord, please make them blind." So the Lord struck them with blindness, as Elisha had said. Oh, y'all see that? Oh Lord, let him see. Oh Lord, don't let them see. You see how that happened? What? Then Elisha went out and told them, "You have come the wrong way. This isn't the right city. Follow me and I will take you to the man you're looking for." And he led them to the city of Samaria. As soon as they had entered Samaria, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, now open their eyes and let them see." So the Lord opened their eyes, and they discovered that they were in the middle of Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he shouted to Elisha, "My father, should I kill them? Should I kill them?" "Of course not," Elisha replied. "Do we kill prisoners of war? Give them food and drink and send them home again to their master." So the king made a great feast for them and then sent them home to their master. After that, the Aramean raiders stayed away from the land of Israel. They don't know how good they got it. Verse 24, Ben-Hadad besieges Samaria. Sometime later, however, King Ben-Hadad of Aram mustered his army and besieged Samaria. As a result, there was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver. Blech. And a cup of dove's dung sold for 5 pieces of silver. Bird pooping a donkey head. Oh, I'm glad that wasn't a checkpoint. That's not something I would want to look forward to. Oh. Verse 26. One day, as the king of Israel was walking along the wall of the city, a woman called to him, "Please help my lord the king." He answered, "If the Lord doesn't help you, what can I do? I have neither food from the threshing floor nor wine from the press to give you." But then the king asked, "What is the matter?" She replied, "This woman said to me, 'Come on, let's eat your son today. Then we will eat my son tomorrow.' So we cooked my son and ate him. Then the next day I said, 'Kill your son so we can eat him,' but she has hidden her son." When the king heard this, he tore his clothes in despair. And as the king walked along the wall, the people could see that he was wearing a burlap under his robe next to his skin. "May God strike me and even kill me if I don't separate Elisha's head from his shoulders this very day," the king vowed. I know there's a saying, desperate times call for desperate measures, but seriously, they had me at dove's dung and donkey's head, and now they done killed the poor baby and ate the baby. Well, at least this one did. This one said, "Hey, go hide my son. We're not gonna kill him. We're just gonna eat her son." Oh my word. And this is why the king is wearing burlap and crying out. He's like, "I gotta get this Elisha." Whew, Elisha was sitting in his house. This is verse 32. Elisha was sitting in his house with the elders of Israel when the king sent a messenger to summon him. But before the messengers arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "A murderer has sent a man to cut off my head. When he arrives, shut the door and keep him out. We will soon hear his master's steps following him." While Elisha was still saying this, the messenger arrived, and the king said, "All this misery is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?" I believe that is the end of the reading for today. Oh no, chapter 7. I was going to say, man, there's a cliffhanger. There's a cliffhanger. 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, we got four chapters today. Let's finish this up with chapter 7, shall we? Elisha replied, "Listen to this message from the Lord. This is what the Lord says. By this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, 5 quarts of choice flour will only cost 1 piece of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain will cost only 1 piece of silver." The officer assisting the king said to the men of God, "That couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven." But Elisha replied, "You will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it." Verse 3. Lepers visit the enemy camp. Now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. "Why should we sit here waiting to die?" they asked each other. "We will starve if we stay here, but with the famine in the city, but we will starve if we stay here. But with the famine in the city, we will starve if we go back there. So we might as well go out and surrender to the Aramean army. If they let us live, so much the better. But if they kill us, we would have died anyway. So at twilight they set out for the camp of the Arameans. But when they came to the edge of the camp, no one was there. For the Lord had caused the Aramean army to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and the galloping of horses and the sounds of a great army approaching. The king of Israel has hired the Hittites and Egyptians to attack us, they cried to one another. So they panicked and ran into the night, abandoning their tents, horses, donkeys, and everything else as they fled for their lives. When the lepers arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into one tent after another, eating and drinking wine, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing and hid it. Finally, they said to each other, "This is not right. This is the day of good news, and we aren't sharing it with anyone. If we wait until morning, some calamity will certainly fall upon us. Come on, let's go back and tell the people at the palace." So they went back to the city and told the gatekeepers what had happened. "We went out to the Aramean camp," they said, "and no one was there. The horses and donkeys were tethered, and all the tents were in order, but..." What's that by? "But there wasn't a single person around." Then the gatekeepers shouted the news to the people in the palace. Run, Kika, run! Verse 12, Israel plunders the camp. Boy, oh boy. What's the name of this chapter again? Or not the name of the chapter, but the theme: disobedience, decline, and disaster. Well, I think the disobedience probably falls on, what was his name? Gehazi. I think the disobedience was that part. The decline, man, it's a lot of stuff going into decline and disaster. Let's finish up chapter 7. Chapter 7. Verse 12. The king got out of bed in the middle of the night and told his officers, "I know what has happened. The Arameans know we are starving, so they left their camp and have hidden in the fields. They're expecting us to leave the city, and then they will take us alive and capture the city." One of his officers replied, "We had better send out scouts to check into this. Let them take 5 of the remaining horses. If something happens to them, it will be no worse for us than if they stay here and die with the rest of us." So 2 chariots with horses were prepared, and the king sent scouts to see what had happened to the Aramean army. They went all the way to the Jordan River, following a trail of clothing and equipment that the Arameans had thrown away in their mad rush to escape. The scouts returned and told the king about it. Then the people of Samaria rushed out and plundered the Aramean camp. So it was true that 5 quarts of choice flour were sold that day for 1 piece of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain were sold for 1 piece of silver, just as the Lord had promised. The king appointed his officer to control the traffic at the gate, but he was knocked down and trampled to death as the people rushed out. Disaster. There's that disaster again. So everything happened exactly as the man of God had predicted when the king came to his house. The man of God had said to the king, "By this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, 5 quarts of choice flour will cost 1 piece of silver, and 10 quarts of barley grain will cost 1 piece of silver." The king's officer had replied, "That couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven." And the man of God had said, "You will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it." And so it was for the people trampled. And so it was for the people trampled him to death at the gate. And that is chapters 4, 5, and 6 of 2 Kings. I think we're actually going pretty short today. Yeah, we're only at 51 minutes. Is there a parable to eating the boy? I don't know. I just know that's pretty gross. I guess if you think about it, if you and somebody else, if somebody tells you to make a sacrifice based off of a sacrifice that they're going to make, Should you be the one to give in first? I don't know. I mean, you can think about that a couple of different ways, but that's pretty sad. It's sad. You know what? The sad part is if they had both done it, that's still pretty sad. That's tragedy right there. But the fact that she said she was gonna do it, oh, you go first. Yeah, we'll eat your son today, and we'll eat mine tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I was curious about Ben Hadad, and sure enough, he's in here. Sure enough. Welcome to that third person in the room. You just came into the Bible reading party. We're actually just wrapping it up. Oh my goodness. If you want, you can go back and you can listen to the replay. You're going to hear about people getting trampled, people going blind, people being seen, people getting cured of leprosy, people getting cured with leprosy, people eating their sons. What else? Axes floating up out of the water. Yeah, you should go back. Oh, they left already. Maybe they'll come back another time. But boy, today's reading was fantastic. Fantastic and unbelievable. There was too much going on. But now I'm going to end this up because I do want to know about this Ben Hadad guy. And there's actually there's two headings, so let's figure this out. Ben Hadad means son of the god Hadad. So Ben must mean God. Ben must mean son, and Hadad is the name of this god. Ben Hadad, this is the first heading. Ben Hadad, between 900 and 860 BC, the son of Taberman, the son of Hezion, king of Syria. Ben Hadad I was king of Damascus during the reign of Israel's king Baasha or Baasha. These two kings joined in an alliance to invade Judah, but King Asa of Judah persuaded Ben Hadad to change sides by paying him to invade Israel instead. But you're still the nation of Israel. Why would you want your brothers to be raided? This forced Baasha to withdraw from Judah to protect his own interest. This Ben Hadad is also known from the famous stone monument he erected after making a treaty with King Pygmalion of Tyre. Here's the second heading. So this is a different one. Ben Hadad II, the son of Ben Hadad I. Ben Hadad I may have reigned as long as 57 years. And if this is true, or if so, the information given here about Ben Hadad, oh no, there's three, wow, would properly refer to Ben Hadad I. However, it is likely that Ben Hadad I died sometime during the reign of King Ahab, king of Israel, and was succeeded by a son, Ben Hadad II. The Bible does not mention this transition, but Assyrian records from 853 BC do mention Hadadezer as king of Damascus. This was probably the throne name used by a new king, Ben Hadad II. This Ben Hadad had also continued to invade and oppress the northern kingdom of Israel each year during the reign of King Ahab. Finally, Ahab defeated the Syrians in 2 successive years and captured Ben Hadad. As a price for releasing Ben Hadad, Ahab received the right for Israelite merchants to trade in the marketplace of Damascus. In 853 BC, Ben Hadad II led a coalition of neighboring nations, including Israel, in a major battle at Karkar in Syria against forces of Shalmaneser III, king of Assyria. Shalmaneser, who had been exacting tribute from Syria and Israel under the threat of military destruction, was driven out of Israel. Sometime later, Ahab of Israel and King Jehoshaphat of Judah joined forces to attack Ben Hadad II. Their object was to regain Ramoth Gilead, which was originally part of Israel. Ahab and Jehoshaphat ignored the unpleasant warning of defeat spoken by Micaiah, a true prophet of the Lord, and were defeated by Ben Hadad II. Ahab also lost his life in the battle. Ben Hadad II is probably the unnamed king of Syria, whose officer Naaman was healed of leprosy by the Lord, though through the prophet Elisha. Ben Hadad himself also sent a servant Hazael to inquire of Elisha concerning his own illness. Hazael later murdered Ben-Hadad and became king of Damascus, just as Elisha had prophesied. We didn't get to that part. I think that'll be tomorrow. Yeah, it says here in 2 Kings 8, verses 12 and 15. Hazael also oppressed Israel during his reign. Hazael reigned as king of Syria from about 843 BC to 798 BC. And here's the third and final heading for Ben-Hadad. Ben-Hadad III, the son of Hazael. He succeeded his father as king of Damascus about 798 BC. When the Israelite king Joash came to power, he won back Israelite territory from Ben-Hadad III, defeating him in battle 3 times. Joash's son, King Jeroboam II, also was successful in battle against Ben-Hadad III and expanded Israel to its full borders. Having failed in his battles against Israel, Ben-Hadad III led a coalition of Syrian kings against Zakir, the king of Hamath, who had attempted to expand his kingdom at the expense of the other kings. Ben-Hadad lost this war also. An Aramaic stone monument mentions Ben-Hadad III by name. Eventually, the palaces of Ben-Hadad in Damascus were destroyed by invading Assyrian armies, just as the prophet Amos had predicted. Who knew there were so many Ben-Hadads? I thought it was going to be a little snippet, but it was a lot. There's a lot. Ben-Hadad the first, Ben-Hadad the second, Ben-Hadad the third. Woo! Yes. Quick outro prayer, and then I am on my way to bed. As I'm back in the swing of things, you guys, I'm back in the swing of things. Working at night, sleeping in the day, and reading the Bible somewhere in between. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for bringing me safely home. Thank you for getting me through another night. Thank you for the opportunity to read the Bible again online and to share the reading with others who may not otherwise hear it. Lord, I continue to pray that for whoever hears my readings, that they're inspired to pick up a Bible or download a Bible and read a little bit of their own so they can come to their own understanding, build their own faith, build their own relationship with you, and find some purpose and live their best life. Amen. 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 So be it. Amen. Check you guys out tomorrow, 7-ish. It is starting to get a little bit harder to get home on time. I don't know why. I don't know why the traffic has been different from before. I would be able to start right on time at 7. But between the traffic and some ongoing car issues, and it's harder for me to get on Facebook than YouTube. So it takes a little bit longer. But you know what? It's all going to work out in the end. It's all going to work out in the end, and it's going to be all right, because I'm still going to read the Bible every day. You know what? If it comes down to it, where somehow, some way, I'm not able to do this online, I'm still going to read the Bible every day. So, devil, get thee behind me. You ain't going to stop me. Because even if I can't read it to all my YouTube friends, I'm going to read it to my Facebook friends. If I can't read it to my Facebook friends, I'm going to read it to myself. Because that's what I aim to do. See you guys on the next one.